unto the Mizraimites, and how according eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me, above all people, for all the earth is mine. You shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and a Kodesh nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Yasharel.
According to the multitude of your tender mercy, blot out our transgressions. Wash us thoroughly from our iniquity and cleanse us from our sins. For we acknowledge our transgressions, and our sins are ever before us. Against you and you alone, Yahweh, have we sinned and done this evil in your sight, that you might be justified when you speak and be clear when you judge. Behold, we were shapen in iniquity, and in sin did our Amon conceive us. Behold, you desire truth in the inward part, and in the hidden part you shall make us to know wisdom. Purge us, Father Yah, with hyssop, and we shall be clean. Wash us, and we shall be whiter than snow. Make us to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which you have broken may rejoice. Hide your face from our sins and blot out all of our transgressions. Create in us a clean heart, O Yahweh, and renew a right spirit within us. Cast us not away from your presence, Father, and take not your Holy Spirit from us. Restore unto us the joy of your salvation, and uphold us with your free spirit. Then will we teach transgressors your ways, and sinners shall be converted unto you. Deliver us, O Yahweh, from blood guiltless, Yahweh of our salvation, and our tongues shall sing aloud of your righteousness. O Yahweh, open you our lips, and our mouths shall show forth your praise. For you desire not sacrifice, else we would give it. You delight not in burnt offering. The sacrifices of Yahweh are a broken spirit, are broken in a heart of contrition. Yahweh, you will not despise. Do good in your good pleasure unto Zion, and build you the walls of Yerushalayim. And let all those, Father Yah, who at the sound of my voice believe all that which was spoken, all that which we do this day to honor you, Father Yah. Say with a loud and clear voice, hallelujah, 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 Toda Yah, Toda Yah. Amen. Amen.
talking about? All right. Shabbat shalom, brothers and sisters. Shabbat shalom on this blessed Shabbat. Pardon my tardiness. I was, man, I was, whew. Yesterday I worked, pretty much 13, 14 hours yesterday. And I had drank some coffee, man, got home, couldn't sleep. So this morning, right around about 3 o'clock, I fell asleep. So if I appear to be sluggish, that's why. Okay. All right. Total Rabah for that light to the Gentiles.
That boy is good.
I want to thank you for that. I want to say Happy New Year to all of the children of Israel, sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah. And why does my thing look like it's off balance? Let me see something here. It is off balance. Hold on a sec. I had to fix that real quick. For some reason or other, my background image is off balance. Yeah, it's not filling up the full screen. Just give me 1 second. Bear with me a second here. Let me see. Where am I at here? Okay. Gotta fix it. Hold on. Just give me a second here. Okay. Let's try that and see if that works there. Okay, let's see. I don't know. Does it look like it's full screen now? Let's see something. I don't know why my screen is doing that. I don't know why. For some reason or other, I'll fix it later. Looks like it's not filling up the whole screen. I don't like that because I like for my screen to be right. Something's not right in the settings. Okay. Anyway, Happy New Year, everybody. The season is here. We're in the new year, on our way to preparation for the first feast of the year. Some people on a set time. They have a set day, and that's why you're going to see. This is the thing, is that when you're in the Israelite community and you're new, the first thing that you see is that we're not on sync when it comes to the feast days. So some have already celebrated, some or want to have different dates and so forth. But be that as it may, that's proof that we Israel, we are divided in the lands of our captivity. And we're going to talk about a lot of that today in this lesson. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to go over my notes again this week because of my schedule. So I'm going to do my best. So if I hit and miss here and there, just charge it to my head, not to my heart. Man, I greet everybody. Light to the Gentiles, man. Boy, I'm telling you, I like what you're doing on TikTok. I want to network with you, and maybe at your leisure, set a time where we can, as a matter of fact, if you want to, we can do it after this live stream at some point in time, where we can just kind of go on your channel. And I don't know if you know how to do that or not, and reach out to me and I can show you how to do that, because I want to help you to get some hits on your channel from the little bit that I get on this channel here. We help build each other up, right? So like what you're doing on TikTok. Sorry about that. Okay. Afroasiatic. Salamu alaikum. Okay, I learned something new today. What does that mean? Salamu alaikum. What does that mean? Shabbat shalom. Okay. Jacob or Jacob, Shabbat shalom. Aktreski, my brother. Keep us in prayer. Keep our Cowboys in prayer this season coming up. Shabbat shalom to you, Coach Cynthia. Who's that? Elias Stone. Elias Stone, I was thinking about you this week. See if you can, I don't know if you're techie like that. Download the song, We're the Sons, the song that our theme song, the Sons and Daughters of the Covenant of Yah, and give me a little rap piece in there. I want to see if I can splice you in there, right? In your leisure, you get a little time. Just do a little track. Just do a little. You can do if you can do like your rap track separate. That way, I can splice it into the. But do it with the. I don't know if you savvy. I think you are, but if you can do the track, do your vocals with the track, and then do one where you isolate the track so I can kind of pull you in at the if you know what I mean, right? I'm thinking about that. I wonder how you do a little rap piece in that. Okay. All right. So Shabbat shalom to you, my brother. Coach Sherry. Happy New Year. That's right. Happy New Year. Shabbat shalom. And let's see. Lion Pride. Shabbat shalom. And Elias Stone. Wife is doing well. Lion Pride. Thanks for asking. I can do that. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Hallelujah. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. We done already had the prayer. So we're going to roll on. So today, the title of the lesson for today is, where's my notes at? Good gravy. Let's see. Hold on a second. The title of the lesson for today is, wait a minute. I forgot the title. Oh, what is the title of the lesson? Help me to help myself today. See how I'm off balance. The horns that scattered Yehuda, Israel, and Jerusalem. The horns that scattered Yehuda, Israel, and Jerusalem. Now, as you all know, we've done a series on Esau, proving to you that Esau is not, right? Esau is not the Caucasian. If you don't know that by now, and the brothers that teach that did they did a wonderful job showing that they don't have no receipts to prove that Esau is Caucasian. And the one brother from the GMS camp, he let it all out. He spilled the beans. He said that it was a secret. And that was revealed to his elder Tahar. So if that's the case, then your doctrine that Esau is the so-called white man, everything that you say, you're going to hold to that, because that is a pillar of the doctrine of the One West camp, right? Specifically, this brother here came forward. And I appreciate that brother, GMS South Carolina, for coming forward, because he helped me to comprehend why that doctrine is so important to them, right? Now, as an Israelite, we have to, we definitely can't have Esau being the Caucasians, because if they are, then that will make us in error according to Torah, because a lot of people have hatred towards the so-called Caucasians, right? So we're going to show you in this lesson, right, that we're going to prove to you that in the comments, I wrote this in the comments, so I'm reading my comments on the video. It says, in this lesson, we'll further prove that the nations which scattered Yehuda, Israel, and Jerusalem are Japheth, right, according to prophecy, aka Europeans, or so-called white people, and not Esau or Edom, right? We're going to start with Zechariah 1:21. That's the title of the lesson. The horns that scatter Yehuda, Israel, and Jerusalem, and then the 10 toes amplified, because our brother, South Carolina, GMS South Carolina, tried to tell us that Tahar, his teacher, taught them that NATO was Esau, and that Esau took on the names, right, of the lands that belong to the sons of Japheth. But they won't tell us who Japheth is, right? And I like what you did on that one video.
That boy is good.
Where you broke it down, where you showed them on that map, where you showed them a whole map of the world. You got everybody's a Hebrew, according to the One West Division's doctrine, Esau the white man. Everybody's Hebrew. That was good.
That boy is good.
You're gonna learn today.
Right? So kudos for that. I appreciate that. Now, second part is that we're going to prove to you that the Hebrews was sold into the hands of the European colonialists, right? Through the aid of Edom, Ishmael, Amon, Moab, our cousins, right? Who were so-called black nations, right? So the people that sold us, that's what history tells us, right? The Europeans didn't just go up into Africa and just start taking people out. They got permission. They actually traded. It says in Joel 3. We don't read the scriptures prophetically, right? The exchange was when the scramble for Africa happened. We're going to talk about that today. And they went into Africa, where all the sons of Eber had fled, including Esau, right? The Idumeans, the remnant of the house of Edom, right? The Moabites, Moors went into Africa. The Ishmaelites, the North African, what they call Afro-Asiatic Arabs, went into Africa, right? Berbers, they call some of them Berbers. They call them everybody. All the descendants of Eber fled into Africa when the Gentiles came into the land, fulfilling the prophecy that says in Genesis 9 that Japheth shall dwell in the tents of Shem, right? So we're going to talk about that today. And then additionally, in Daniel 7, we're going to break down, we're going to show you that Daniel 7 prophecy is the amplification of Genesis 9 that says Japheth will be enlarged and would dwell in the tents of Shem. You can't dwell in the tents of Shem if Shem is there. So you got to get Shem out the land in order for you to dwell in those tents. That's the prophecy. Okay. That happened. So everybody that you see as a whole that are in the lands of Shem are not Shem. It's with the exception of those that have immigrated back in the latter years. Okay. 20th century. Right? Now. And last, the fourth beast was manifested in the same Germanic tribes, right? We're going to break it down. In alliance with the other sons of Japheth, Gog and Magog, Gomer and all his bands, they unified under the label, during the scramble for Africa, under the label of whiteness. Right? The different tribal people that came together and unified, okay, under the label of whiteness, right? Now, with that said, let's open up with Zechariah 1, our opening verse, and 21. So let's go to Zechariah 1:21. Okay. My neighbors are up this early in the morning riding their motorcycles, and at 9 o'clock in the morning they revving up their dirt bikes. So if you hear some background and hear some sounds in the background, that's what you're hearing, right? I don't know why they would be up 9 o'clock in the morning riding dirt bikes. But anyway, so let's go to I gotta bring myself on the screen here. Where's my messed up here somewhere, and I changed, configured some things around and lost myself here in here. Let me see. So let me see if I can bring myself back in here. Okay, let me see. Where am I at here? And y'all, please forgive me because I didn't get an opportunity to do my clips. Just time just does not permit me to be able to do everything that other people have the luxury to prepare to do. So in my schedule, when I get some finances down, right, I got goals. I'm trying to knock some of these debts so I can be debt free, so I can have more free time to be able to do my books and everything else. So for now, it is what it is, right? Okay, so let's see. So we're gonna go to Zechariah. What did I say? Zechariah. What did I say? 1:21. Okay, Zechariah 1:21. All right. So a while back, I did a teaching on this, right? We're going to start at verse 18, right? Okay. Then lifted I up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns, right? Now, the prophet, all these prophets, I keep saying this, and I'm going to say it till somebody get it. All these prophets were prophesying on the same thing from different angles, right? You know how many of y'all ever saw that movie called Vantage Point, right? You know, where they showed, it was, I think it was a prime minister of Spain or something, allegedly got shot and killed. And they had, the whole movie was about this one little segment. And they kept going back. I remember when I went to the theater and I saw that, right? They just kept going back. Just like that. And they show you from another angle, right? Vantage point, right? All right. So how many of y'all have seen that? Did y'all see that vantage point? Okay. So vantage point is what the prophets, when the prophet spoke as pertaining to what they saw, right? Because the whole thing, if you don't comprehend that the whole thing is about Daniel 9, when I first came to the knowledge that I was an Israelite, the Most High said to me, when you comprehend Daniel 9, right? That's when all the prophecies will open up, because everything is based upon the people and the city, right? America is not the focal point, right? So the whole thing is about the horns that scattered Israel to the 4 corners. So Israel has been scattered to the 4 corners, not just one corner. America, United States is one corner, right? So when we focus our attention on just simply America, and it is in prophecy, but when we focus our attention on one particular location, we lose sight of the full totality of the prophecies, because the prophecies is about Israel, and Israel is not in one place, not in one continent. Okay. Now,
That boy is good.
all right. So
What you bringing to the table, brother?
all right. Now, so let's go back in. Okay. So I lifted up my eyes and I saw the 4 horns, right? Which is equivalent to the 4 beasts. The 4 beasts in Daniel. We're going to look at that in a little bit. All right. And I said to the Malachim, or angel, the Malach, that's what it is in Hebrew. Malach, right? Messenger, right? So now, just a little side note. People think angels got 2 wings, right? Nope. That's mythology, right? So that's a whole nother lesson. But the prophet said 4, he called them 4 horns, right? And we're going to amplify that in a second. So what I want to do, let's look at this 4 horns, right? So it said 4, right? He opened his eyes and he saw 4, right? That's the number Arba, right? Which means 4, right? Arba means 4. 4 horns. 4 horns is, it says, projecting by implication a flask, coronet, resemblance, elephant's tooth, ivory, corner, peak, mountain, right? So there you have it, right? Interesting, in the definition, you see ivory, right? Isn't that where one of the ports where we came out of by the European colonialists who came into before they actually colonized the land? See, you got to get the people out the land before you can colonize the land, right? So that's why the people that were in the land had kingdoms set up called Negro lands, right? So who was the enemies that forced us down into the sub-Saharan? Because I was reading a book this week, and he said that I think it had to do with the South African people before your boy Elon Musk and them came into the land and got into the mines, and they committed genocide. We're going to talk about that too, in the land. But they came from the north and they settled down into so you got to see the flow of it. That's what people don't get. Why would the people that the Hamites, the Hebrews, etc., the Edomites, the Moabites, Ammonites, the Canaanites that were in the northern regions, why would they go down below the Saharan? Right? Is it possible that they knew the prophecy that said Japheth, he's going to break pieces, right? He's going to be dreadful and terrible, right? Oh yeah, they knew. So what did they do? They went south below the Saharan. That's how we ended up there. That's how the South African Numidian people ended up there, because they are Bantu people. They came from the north. The ones that came from the east came across the sea, because when Esau, Ishmael, and all, they had always had a continual hatred against us that forced us out of the land over into the other side. And what did they do with that? They came after us. And they did what? They had war with us, and they sold us into the hands of the European colonialists. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. So basically, that's what happened there. All right. Now, back in. So he said the 4 horns, he saw the 4 horns. Verse 19. And I said unto the angel, to the Malach that talked with me, right? So when you hear the voice of the Most High, you say, I heard the voice. It's really not the Most High. it's the messenger of Yah that speaks. Yah gives him the articulation and he communicates it to you, right? We say in ignorance that is the Most High spoke to me, but from a technical standpoint, it is the Most High, but it's actually the messenger of Yah that's speaking to you, right? Just like we see here. Okay, now, so he said, the Malak that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns, right? Which have scattered Yehuda, Israel, and Jerusalem. So it was 4 horns, right? Going from the first Gentile at Neo-Babylon, right? From him to the Persian Empire, the Medo-Persians, right? Who also enslaved Israelites, right? And then you go from the Medo-Persians to the Grecian Empire, right? Way before Esau, right? Now, here's the interesting thing that puts another dilemma in that Esau is a so-called Caucasian doctrine, right? If the book of Jasher, chapter 90, says that Esau became one kingdom, not one people, it's a difference between the two, but anyway, one kingdom with Chittim. If Chittim is Rome, then Rome is Rome and Greece is Greece. Right? Am I right about it?
Am I right?
That's right.
So, listen.
He ain't lying.
So if Esau is Rome or Chittim, because the one West divisions want to make Alexander the Greek be an Edomite, well, Joshua doesn't say that Esau became one people with the Greeks or one kingdom. It says with Chittim, and in the same book of Joshua, you can read it. It says that Chittim is Rome, Romine, right? It says Romine, right? So Rome is not Greece, right?
What you bringing to the table, brother?
So Rome is not Greece. So you have, and the Most High is not dumb. Right?
Tell me a little something, boy.
The Most High is not dumb, right? Why would he say, if you go to Daniel in another place, which we're not going to go to today, you can read it for yourself. The king of Grecia, why would he separate the king of Grecia from Rome if they were the same people? Right? So, in other words, I got questions for those people that teach that doctrine, because if it's so many holes, if Babylon, right? The new Babylon, the Gentiles, okay? Who was he? Was he Japheth or was he Esau? Because the prophet said it would be 4 horns, right? That would take Israel that would scatter Israel, right? So we got the Neo-Babylon Empire, we got the Medes and Persians, we got the Grecians, which are different from the Romans, and then we got the Romans, right? And then Roman was divided into 2 east and west, and then out of the east and west came the 10 toes, who scrambled into Africa and took Israel far away from our borders, right? So we're going to amplify that today. All right, now let's go back in. So he said, I said unto the Malak that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Yehuda, Israel, and Jerusalem. And Yah showed me 4 carpenters, right? Now, this word here is very key because this is actually another fulfillment of Genesis 9, where it says Japheth will be enlarged, right? And he would work to deceive, right? Because that's what the name means, right? Let's look at it real quick, right? Let's go, keep your finger there. Let's go to Genesis 10, Table of Nations, right? Genesis 10. All right. And we're going to look at Japheth. So the name Japheth means expansion, right? When you look at the definition, the root word, Japheth comes from the root word patah, right? Patah. So that's Strong's 86601. So let's go there real quick. Strong's 6601. Patah. So the name Japheth patah means to open, that is to be causatively, to make roomy, right? Usually figuratively in a mental or moral sense, to be causatively, to make simple, or in a sinister way, to delude. Boom. See, Esau's name means red. Japheth's name means to delude, right? So what does it mean to delude, right? All right, I'm glad you asked the question. Let's do it. This is not, I wasn't prepared. I will go to Webster's dictionary and pull it out for you. But let me see. Let's just do a quick generic search, okay? What does delude mean? All right. So now it says delude. This is the generic YouTube word search. It says to impose a misleading belief upon someone, to deceive, to fool. Boom. Isn't that what they've done? Isn't that what they're doing now? Isn't that why our current president now is attacking the Smithsonian Museum to defund it, right? Go to the website, go to the government website and read it. I would pull out the link for you and show it to you, and read the whole letter, but you can read the letter yourself. Google search President Donald Trump's initiative to defund the Smithsonian African American Museum and read it, right? That's the reason why they want to take all the books out, because why they want, history has already been written, right? The internet, the next thing they're going to try to do is they want to try to control information. Because the more they control information, the more we begin to see that we are those people that see Israel, the Israelites, and people say, I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. Right? Wait a minute. I got a clip for that. Wait a minute, hold on.
Give me a little something, boy.
Wait a minute. I gotta get that one. Where is it at?
Give me a little something, boy.
Wait a minute, where's my wait a minute, where is it? I gotta fix it. I was trying to fix my clips here, but it'll come back to me in a minute. Oh, here we go. This is the one I want right here. It is.
Oh, there they go. There they go.
Wait a minute.
Oh, there they go. There they go.
There they go. That's right. So we start digging into the history, and we start seeing that this whole Bible, and we all steeped in Christianity. I'm gonna show you some stuff. I might not get to it today. If I got it in my notes somewhere, where they admitted that they came into Africa, right, to enforce Christianity on us. And when they put sight on other lands abroad that they wanted to conquer, they forced Christianity on us because they knew that Christianity would keep us in check. Right? That's why Hebrews that embrace that label Christianity don't know the history behind Christianity. Okay? So if I get to it in this lesson, because I'm telling you, what I'm giving you from this lesson are excerpts from the book. So I may or may not get to it. If I don't get to it, get the book when it comes out. Okay. So now, this book here is about the Gentiles, Gentile nations. So I'm working on 4 books at the same time. All right. All right. So now, where was I at here? I got distracted here. Oh, here it is.
Oh, there they go. There they go.
I found it now. Okay, all right. So the name Japheth means to delude, to deceive, to fool, right? Now, we know the 1619 project, I call the Hebrew Israelite 1619 project, is Jeremiah 16:19. Is that a coincidence? But 16:19 says that the Gentiles shall say in that day, our fathers have inherited lies. So the name Japheth means to be a deceiver. Boom. Right? So Japheth means to be a deceiver. All right. Okay. A boom went away here. Okay. I don't know what happened there. All right. Anyway. So let's go back to so once again, that's a recap. Once again, the name Ptah means to make roomy, right? And that's what the 10 toes did. We're going to break it down. They made room by doing what? Forced migration and enslavement of the people that were already in the lands. They drove them out, and they used policies, all in prophecy, and religion to control the narrative. Right? Right.
What you bringing to the table, brother?
Now, let's go back to, this is going to be a short introduction. I'm just about finished with the intro. All right, now, so let's go back to Zechariah 1 again. Okay, so now it says, Yah showed me 4 carpenters. Now, I got to show you this in the Brenton's version. So let's go to the Brenton's version. This is verse 20. It says, Yah showed me 4 artificers. I think that's how you say it. Is that right? Artificers. Okay. Yah showed me 4 artificers. 4 artificers. Okay. Now, interesting. We're going to break this down as we progress into the fulfillment of this, right? So when you go to, let me go to my notes here right quick so I can be on the same page here. Okay. And where was I at here? I want this one here. Okay, I got 2 notes here I'm going by. Okay, now, so it's the word artificer is defined as, right? Let's go to this link here. We'll read it from Webster's dictionary. Okay, so y'all can be on the same page to see what I'm seeing. So I'm going to give you this link, and you can click this link and go to Webster's online free version of the dictionary, right? So go to this link here, right? All right. So go to that link there. Let me see. Let me look at these comments real quick. Let me go back. Okay. Let's see what we see here. Shalumu is a consonant equivalent to shalom. Okay. Hebrew, the other Arabic, in Muslim Negro who believes in the children of Israel. Okay. Interesting. Didn't know that. Lights, I am living in Italy at the moment, the land of Esau according to One West. Are you really in Italy? That explains why your response is delayed. What time is it there? It's going on nighttime, isn't it? Probably. If you're in Italy, yes, that'd be like about 10-hour difference. So 10 by 8 o'clock at night then. So you're in the first day over there. Esau definitely not the Caucasian. Actual facts, that's correct. Let's see. Yeah, that map was perfect. Sure was. Did you design that map? That was good. That map, light to Gentile, that was good. Let's see. Brother Dollars, good to see you, my brother. Boers, yep. Let's see. It was definitely a genocide of mind. Africans think white is right in a large part. Let's see. IUIC got run out of some African country. Oh, did he really? And they were saying them Hamites was mad. They teaching black Jesus, but truth is those throwing rocks were most likely Hebrews, maybe from Edom. Yep, I agree. Trick. Japheth expanded the word. The word expanded is to be tricked. Yep. Smash the likes. That's right. LUTG7. Do you see me, or have I been shadow banned? Who's LUT? Oh, I saw that last week. Is that a user? Oh, you know, he's light unto the Gentiles. Oh, that's what that is. I got it. All right. Okay. All right. 4:00 p.m. Okay, man. Yeah, that's about right. I thought it was 10 or 8 hours, 8 to 10, because Israel is about 10 hours, I think, from East Coast time, or 10 hours from Central time, I think. Okay. Oh, you detailed the map. Man, that's good, man. You good, man. You good.
That boy is good.
All right. Now, so, man, what was I doing here? I lost it here. Let's see.
He ain't lying.
Me and Light, we're gonna do this to this doctrine.
I'm getting ready to take you down, boss. Getting ready to take you down, boss. Getting ready to take you down. Look at your boss. Look at your boss.
Gonna take him down. All right. So now, I was in my notes. Okay. All right. That's what it was. We were going to Webster's to get a definition for artificial. Sorry about that, brothers and sisters. All right. Now, so you should all have a link by now. Artificer. So we're going to, let's blow this up here. Let's make this larger here. And let's see. Let's zoom in so I can see. Okay. Artificer, where is it? Artificer. artificer. Here we go. Ficery. Artifice. Let me hold on. Let me let y'all see what I'm looking at. I'm trying to find it. Where's my seeing glasses at here, brother? It's just good gravy. Okay, this is Webster. Noah Webster's 1828 edition. Artificer. So it's got to be up here somewhere. Here it is, right here. Artificer. Ooh, it's hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in some more. It's right here, right? Okay, let's bring it in. Okay. All right. Artificer, right? From ars and physo, 2 words. An artist, a mechanic, or a manufacturer, one whose occupation requires skill or knowledge of a particular kind, as a silversmith or saddler. So basically what they did was they studied us, right? It took them from the 4th century all the way up until the 15th century to figure out how to map out a strategy, right? Because you got to know that we was in the land of Ham after we left out of the lands of nativity from the 4th century, which would be a 5th century, I should say, which would be the 400 AD, all the way up until 1400. So that's 1,000 years. That's when the Negro land kingdoms were established and developed. So the Portuguese were the first ones to come into the land. I'm ahead of myself. Okay, so now let's go back in. So he said artificer. Okay, now meaning 2 says one who makes or contrives, an inventor, as an artificer of fraud or lies. Right? See that? Boom. One who makes or contrives, an inventor, as an artificer or fraud of lies, right? A cunning or artful fellow, right? So what did they do, right? Esau worked in cahoots with Amon, Moab, right? Ishmael, Hagarenes, Gebal, all of them, right? With Joel 3 says with the Grecians, because they sold Israel first to the Grecians, who first began to scatter them, right? Then from there, you go from the Grecians to the Romans, right? Who were the first colonizers, right? To colonize territories, right? So that's why when you look at, we see these 10 toes, they just continue along with the same crafty counsel of the colonizers. That's what they did. And they hide behind religion and politics to do it.
What you bringing to the table, brother?
That's what they do. They hide behind religion and politics. They control the media so that when you tell a truth like I'm telling, your channel gets shadow banned. I should have probably 100,000 or more subscribers to this channel. My videos should be going far and wide, because why? We're bringing some stuff out of here that you're not going to find in Sunday school, right? Right? So now,
Am I right?
That's right.
they operated through the spirit of Japheth to manipulate, to control, to deceive, to control the narrative that you would believe everything that they teach you in their school systems to keep you oppressed and under their foot. But y'all said, we waking up. That's why they against wokeness. They want to label wokeness with everything else. Right? Now, let's go back into my notes. Right?
Am I right?
That's right.
All right. So now it also says to contrive, right? So we're going to go to the next page, 466. All right. So if you stay right there and go to Webster's Dictionary, I think it's page 466. Okay. I went too far. Okay. Let's do it this way. I actually have a link to go straight to the page. See, I don't like wasting time when I'm trying to teach. All right. So let's copy this link here. We're going to share this link. It's going to go to the next work. Okay. So go there and we're going to paste this right here. Bam. Okay. We're going to go right here to the next word, which is, y'all bear with me. Contrive. Okay. Think about it. So, like I said, I haven't had a chance to go over my notes, so in my head is there, but okay. All right. So we're going to blow this up. We're going to blow this up, and we're going to find contrive somewhere on this page. Where's my CNI glasses at here? Okay. Contrive. Okay, let me see. Let's blow it up some more so I can see. Contrive. C-O-N-T-R-I-V-E. So contrives. Contrive. Right here. Here it is. Contrive. Right here. Right here. It says it's a combination of two words. Con and trouver. Con and trouver. How about that? Con and trouver. To find, in controversy, to invent, to devise, to plan. Boom. It said to devise and to plan, right? To devise a plan, right? Okay. To wear out. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, Gino.
Wait a minute.
To wear out. Look at that. To wear out. So this strategy, if it lines up with prophecy, because where do we find that terminology, wear out? Right? So let's go to the book. Okay. All right. Now, I already have it in my notes, I think. Okay. Yeah. Daniel 7. So go to Daniel 7, right? And we're going to amplify it, but I want to show you the part there, right? So go to Daniel 7, right? And I think it's verse 25. So if you go to Daniel 7 and 25, okay? Daniel 7 and 25. Okay, before we go to Daniel 7, let me finish out this Zechariah. Let me go to Daniel 7, 25, okay? So Daniel, Zechariah 1:20 says, and Yah showed me the four artificers, and I said, what are these coming to do? And he said, these are the horns that scattered Yehuda, and they broke Israel in pieces, and none of them lifted up his head, and these are come forth to sharpen them for the hands, even the four horns, the nations that lifted up the horn against the land of Yah to scatter it. Boom. Huh? Now, let's go to Daniel 7 and we're going to connect the dots. So go over to Daniel 7 real quick, right? Daniel 7, right? And I said verse 25. Let's go back to the King James Version. I'll look at Brenton's in a second. 25 says, and we're going to walk it down. We're going to go up, but I want to read this part right, because that definition was on point. He said, and they shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall do what? Shall wear out the saints, boom, of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. That's what they did. We're not under the law. We're under grace now, right? We changed the time. Most High day begin as the sun's going down, right? That day begins at midnight, right? Y'all's day begins in a month of Abib, right? Their year begins in January, in Janus, the day of looking forward and looking backwards, the two-headed deity called Janus, right? Right?
What you bringing to the table, brother?
They changed times and laws, right? They changed laws, said you don't have to keep y'all's laws, but they are legislating laws every doggone day in the so-called, not Black House, White House. Right? So, brother, it's called White House because it's painted white.
Oh, there they go. There they go.
Wait a minute. Yeah, we know the house. We know it's painted white and then call it White House, but subliminal? Okay. We only had one black person running that thing. All right. So ever since then, everybody has been running that thing. Don't look like you and me. All right. Now, so it said that he will wear out the saints of the Most High and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given to his hand until the time and times and dividing of times. Now, let's go back, right? Let's go up. All right, now. So I'm going to tie this, and then we're going to go and we're going to look at some history, right? We're going to look at the prophecy, and we're going to look at some history to see if they sync, right? Or was it a coincidence, right? They want to throw the Bible out now. The Bible is just a book of fables. You know, they even got some so-called Negroes now dissing the Bible, right? But the prophecies sync and connect with history. And the historians tell you they agree with the prophecies. It's not a coincidence, right? Now, so let's go back in. So this is Daniel 7. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, right, king of Babylon, right, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon the bed. And then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. So let's back it up for a second. So what happened here? Daniel had a dream. Right. Now, let's keep in mind, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream too, right? He had a dream. Daniel had a dream too at the same time that the Most High gave dream to King Nebuchadnezzar. Right?
What you bringing to the table, brother?
So the Most High revealed things to the astrologers, because that's what they were in the Chaldeans of Babylonian. They were astrologers, right? So they followed the signs and the stars. So they had people, they had oracles that would come and give them words, right? To let them see things that's going to come to pass. That's why you got your psychics that they're tapped in, because they're tapped into the powers of darkness, right? Just like Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, now let's go back. So Daniel had a dream and visions, right? Now let's just kind of look at the British version on this first verse, see what it says here. The first year, Balthasar, king of the Chaldeans, I like that. See, he brings it up. Call them the Chaldeans, call it what it is. Daniel had a dream and vision of his head upon his bed, and he wrote his dream. Right now, okay, let's go back to KJV. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my visions by night. Right? All right. Remember Nick at Night? All right. Now, so Daniel had it says vision by night, and behold, four winds of heaven, right? Four, they go to number 4. We got to keep in mind 4, right? These prophets all saw the same thing. Now, that would have been a good opportunity for the Most High to say, that's Esau. These 4 powers are going to be Esau. Would have been a real good time right there, wouldn't it? To say, oh, that's Esau, brother. No. He said 4 winds. As a matter of fact, no. I was getting ready to say something, but I'm jumping ahead of myself. All right, now, so 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Now, another piece of information of prophecy, when you see the word sea, right? Who does the sea represent? Right? People, right? So in this specific prophetic time, right, the sons of Japheth were dwelling around the sea. Right? That's why Genesis 10 says the isles of the Gentiles. That's where they was dwelling. They wasn't in the UK. They wasn't in Ireland. They wasn't in France and Britain and all these places. They were right there, laying in the cut, studying, learning. The Phoenicians taught them some things, right? The Canaanite taught them some things, right? Edom taught them some things, right? Everybody tutored them first, right? They taught them the ways of life, right? So the deceiver comes along and wants you to believe that they taught you. They taught us. The Caucasians, they learned from the Africans, the Hebrews, the Moabites, all of them. They learned from them, those Hebrews, right? Because they're all Hebrews. They all come from Hebrew. Moab, Ammon, Ishmael, Edom, Israel. All Hebrews. They might not call themselves that, but they all come from Eber, right? Now, thanks to like to the Gentiles map.
That boy is good.
All right, now, so 4 winds strove upon the great sea, right? The 4 winds, those 4 winds, those 4 Gentile nations strove upon the great sea around the sea people, right? The people, the coastlands people, the isles of the Gentiles, right? Sitting in the cut. They came out the great sea, strove upon the great sea. The great sea was the Mediterranean, brothers and sisters. All right, now, the 4 great beasts, right? 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Boom. So now, that was another good opportunity for the Most High to say, see, Esau, this Esau. No, he said these 4 beasts were diverse, right? They come from the different tribes, right? You got Yavon, who had Kittim and Dodanim, right? Okay, so you have your combination of descendants, the sea people from Yavon, which makes up the Grecian people and the Roman people, right? Okay. The Medes and the Persians came from Paras, which was down, if you go to the book of Jubilees, I believe it is, talks about how that he wanted a land where the Shemites were, so he laid in the cut over there until his time came on the scene. But he was of the seed of Japheth, Parah, right now. So, the 4 beasts, okay? Neo, so you got your Cyrus, you got your Persians, you got your Parah, okay? You got your Grecians and your Romans right now. So they strove upon the great sea. 4 beasts came from the sea, right? Diverse one from another. They were diverse. They were from different tribes. That's why they were diverse, right? Let's just do this real quick. Let's go get that word diverse real quick. All right. Okay, they were, what he said, they were diverse. Okay. Shana, meaning it says to alter. Right. Alter. Now remember, week 4 last, I think it was, we read the ladder of Yaakov where it talked about the 4 ascents kept changing their faces, right? That's what he's talking about. If they were Esau, they wouldn't keep changing their faces. They would be having the same face, but they were diverse. So they were different tribal people from the seed of Japheth. That's what the prophecy is alluding to. Now, go back in. They were diverse, right? Okay, verse 4. The first was like a lion, right? And had eagle's wings. Now, so the first one had eagle's wings, and it wasn't the United States of America. It wasn't the United States putting the flag on the moon saying the eagles landed. That was the first one that had, as he said, it it was a lion and had eagle's wings. And I beheld till the wings, right? Right wing, left wing, right? So this right wing, left wing is not something that's new. It's an old age concept, right? So it had wings, 2 wings, right? It doesn't say 2, but the assumption is there. It had wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, right? And it was lifted up from the earth, right? And made stand upon the feet as a man, right? That would be King Nebuchadnezzar right there, right? And a man's heart was given to it, right? Verse 7. Behold, another beast, a second like unto the bear, it is raised up itself on one side, and 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So that is your Medes and Persians, right? All right. I actually have heard somebody try to say the bear is Russia. That's some Tim LaHaye stuff, right? That's some Tim LaHaye stuff. Or was it Jack Van Pimp? I had their whole collection back in the day. I was like, man, these prophecies don't make sense to me. He was making stuff be stuff that it wasn't. Okay, but anyway. So the second was like a bear. It raised itself on one side and it had 3 ribs in the mouth, and the teeth of it said thus, and it was thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh, right? So that's your Medo-Persian, right? That's the first, after Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. Then you have verse 6. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, right? Okay. So that's the next empire. So he said 4, right? So the first one was the King Nebuchadnezzar, the Neo-Babylon. The second was the Medo-Persian Empire. The third one was the Grecians, right? The leper. And it had, which had upon the back of it 4 wings. Those your wings again. Of a fowl. So this one had 4 wings, right? The beast, and also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So there goes your 4, right? So in history, we know about Alexander the Greek and his empire being divided. We read about that in the book of Maccabees, right? Let me look. Let's see what Brenton say in that verse there. Let's go to Brenton's real good. Let's start from verse 3, go down to 6. Okay, it says the first was as a lioness, right? And her wings as an eagle I beheld until her wings were plucked, and she was lifted off the earth, and she stood on the human feet, and the man's heart was given to her. And behold, a second beast like a bear, it supported itself on one side, and there was ribs in his mouth between his teeth, and thus they said to it, arise, devour much flesh. Manhunter, right? 6 says, after this one I looked, and behold, another wild beast as a leopard, and it had 4 wings of a bird upon it, and the wild beast had 4 heads, and the power was given to it, right? So now 7, here's 7. Verse 7 says what? And this, after this one, okay, and behold, the 4th beast, dreadful, terrible, exceeding strong, and his teeth were of iron, devouring and crushing to atoms, and it trampled the remainder with his feet, and it was altogether different from the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Boom. All right, now, sorry about that. I thought I had the scriptures on the screen. Okay, let's look back at this verse 7. That's the Brenton's verse. Let's go back to the KJV. After this I saw in the night visions, behold, the 4th beast, right? The 4th beast, which is the first right. All right. the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, right? And strong exceeding, right? It had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces, right? And stamped the residue with the feet of it. Notice it says, y'all got to see this, brothers and sisters. Y'all read this and y'all, it went right over, right over your head, right? So today, through the Ruach, we're going to help you to comprehend what's being said right here, because some people read it religiously. We're going to read it from historical dynamic and prophetic fulfillment, from the utterance that the Most High gave to the prophet Daniel to speak the future in his estimation, not necessarily knowing what he's saying, but the Most High knows all things, right? So he gave him the history of the world and the history of Israel, history of Jerusalem, etc. Right now, so let's go back in. So he said, after this, I saw in the night visions, right? And behold, why was it at night vision? Why wasn't it a day vision, right? Because night means a time where you can't see, right? Obscurity, right? We went in, we went into the dark ages, right? They came out of the dark ages, right? And we went into the dark ages, brothers and sisters. Uh-oh.
What you bringing to the table, brother?
Right. They came out and we went into the dark ages. Part of prophet being fulfilled right now. So he said, after I saw the night vision, and behold, the fourth beast was dreadful and terrible. So keep in mind, the fourth beast never ended. Let me say that again. The fourth beast never ended. Right? Because the fourth beast was dreadful and terrible, and he extended his power. Watch this now. He was dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, right? So what did he do? He was a manhunter. He was seeking, going into places looking to find men that he could kill with his teeth. Devour, right? Look. It says, he devoured and broke in pieces, right? Everywhere they went. And how did he do it? He stamped the residue with his feet. Boom. The 10 toes is the feet, right? Out of the dark ages of Europe came the Germanic tribes, who established the second Reich, the second Reich, the third Reich, and the fourth Reich. Boom. We need to do a whole session on the fourth rights, the four rights, right? Brothers and sisters, this prophecy is detailed to the max. To the max. Right, I want to get that one in. To the max. All right, now. Okay. So it broke in pieces. It stamped the residue with the feet of it. So who did he stamp? The horns. Yehuda, Israel, and Jerusalem. The fourth beast did what? It broke the pieces. It stamped the residue, what was remaining, with its feet. So the nations of Europe that came through the universal power structure, Eurocentric powers, broke the pieces, right? Stamped the residue with his feet, right? And it was diverse. What makes it diverse? Because it had a multiplicity of tribes that was divided. It was diverse, right? It was diverse from all the beasts. In other words, it was a combination of all the sons of the Japheth working together, unifying together under the label of whiteness.
What you bringing to the table, brother?
Some people got it. They don't know how to connect to the biblical prophecies, but they got it. They're coming against evangelical, white evangelical, what do you call it? White nationalism. They coming against it, but they're not connecting it to the prophetic flow of who's in the book, the Israelites. So the Most High is allowing Israelites to wake up and to begin to proclaim the fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy. Here it is. And they wrote about it in books. Right now, man.
Am I right?
That's right.
So he says that they stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns, right? Now, those 10, you're not going to find anywhere online where it's going to just list 10, right? All right, maybe we'll do that future lesson. 10 classifications of the 10 horns, right? Now, before I go to the next verse, let's do this real quick. Okay, so now I have to go back to my notes. Okay, now, what I want to do is, when you look at, these are some of the 10 toes, right? I'm going to mention a few here. You got your Goths, right? Which are your East Germans, right? They split. The Visigoths was part of the Goths, were split and went and formulated France, right? The Ostrogoths went east and formulated Italy and Sicily. And you do know that the Italians today are not the Italians back in the old days. They're still sons of Japheth, right? They kind of got swallowed up. All right. Now, then you have the Vandals, right? The Vandals. Let you see my notes here. You had the Vandals. The Vandals sacked Rome. I got links here. I don't have time to go through all these links. I'm just going to kind of summarize it. The Vandals were the first ones to sack Rome, right? They settled in Hungary and migrated to Gaul, France, and Spain, and Portugal. So they were the first of the oppressors that came into oppress the children of Israel, who were already situated and settled in Spain and Portugal. So they were the first, right? How did the Israelites get up there? Some of them got up there during the time of the Persian king. Some of them got there later on during the time of Hannibal, right? The Parthian general, right? Well, the Parthian general was before. No, it was after. That's right. It was after. I'm sorry. It's a lot to take in. Okay. All right. So then you have your Lombards, right? Established Italy and the Byzantine, right? The Franks, which established France, Belgium, and Luxembourg, right? That's Franks. The Anglos and Saxons established Britain, right? The Jutes, right? They were part of the Britain and Hampshire, right? Burgundians, another sector of France. So you got to remember now, through all these nations, everybody that lives in France is not from the same tribe. That's what you got to comprehend, right? Let's continue. Okay, you got Carusi, which is modern day Germany, right? That was a Germanic tribe called Carusi. The Macromani, there goes your Czechoslovakians, right? And your Russians. Then you got Hermanduri, right? Or Franconia. So there's another different variation of French. You got your Bastonnet, which is the lower Danube River. And then you have your Frisians, right? The Dutch, right? It was a branch. I got fixed this here. A branch of Saxons, right? And then you got your Lustians, called Coney Celtic Portuguese, right? And these were the first enslavers, and along with the Vandals, right? So these, when you see the prophecy talking about the 10 toes, in another place it talks about miry clay, right? Mixing, right? Let me see if I can pull it up real quick before I go back to that, before I read the next verse. Let me see, what verse is that there? It's in Daniel. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Okay, that's 2. That's 2. So that's 243. So let's read it real quick. 243. Okay. 10 toes, verse 42. It says, let's start right here, verse 40. It says, and the fourth kingdom, right, shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron break in pieces and subdue all things, as iron that breaketh off these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou saw the feet and toes, part potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided, that's your east and your west, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou saw the iron mixed with the clay, right? Boom. And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so shall the kingdom be partly strong and partly broken, right? Okay. And whereas thou saw the iron mixed with miry clay, there it is, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay, right? And in the days of these kings, this is not past, brothers and sisters. Let me read it again. In the days of these kings shall Yah of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Boom. So can we see that the 10 toes is this existing nation today, not Esau? The 10 toes, right? The seed of Japheth, or the Gentiles, right? That's what the prophecy's all about. It's not about Esau. Esau was the one that handed us into the hands of those Gentiles. Okay? Obadiah talks about that. We showed you that in another lesson, right? So he handed us into the hands of the Grecians, right? Now, Joel 3 says that right now. So there goes your 10 toes. Now let's go back to Daniel 7. And now let's go back to brothers, just hold a second. I got an emergency call again. I got an emergency call. Hold on a second. I gotta find. What did I do? I moved something around here. Just pardon me a second here. Okay.
We are the sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah.
Okay, sorry about that, brothers. All right, now I can think better now. Okay, now, so we can go a little step further. So this part is going to go fast, and it's going to be, I'm going to call this prophetic and historic fusion, right? You know, jazz fusion is and everything. So if you're slow, you might have to play this part back again, because I'm going to fuse it all together. It's going to be called prophetic and historic fusion, right? All right, now, so let's go back in here. So it says here in verse, we left off Daniel 7:6 says, I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon its back 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and the domain, and broke in pieces, and stamped residue with the feet of it, and was diverse from all beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn. Now that's futuristically. The little horn hasn't arrived, right? I've heard people talk about prophecy that the little horn already happened. No, it has not happened yet. Okay. The little horn, right, is the same person that would be the man of sin, right? I have my thoughts of who I think that is. Some of you might have your thoughts of who you think that is, but time will reveal. But this little horn, right, it says, a little horn before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, right? So now, the first horns, the 3 that were plucked up by the roots. Now, you can look at this a couple of different ways, right? All right. You could look at it and say Rome was the first horn. You can say Greece. You could say Greece, Rome, right? And the revived Rome, or the Germanic tribes, right? Okay. Or if you want to look at it from another angle, you could say the first Reich, Rome, second Reich, German Empire, third Reich, the Russian Empire, and the fourth Reich, this new world system. Okay, so you can look at it a couple different ways. Okay. That I'm open to discussion, because you can look at it from 2 different angles. Okay. It might be a third angle there, but I mean from those 2 angles there. Okay. So, all right. Now, so we do know it's 3. It said 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Now, at current time, when Daniel saw this vision, if you go with that, you would say, well, at this time when Daniel was, the Grecian Empire had not come into fruition. So maybe this is not Greece. Okay. Maybe this is Egypt, Babylon, and Persian. Yeah, Persian was the ruler then, but Persian was ruling at the time. Okay. All right. Okay. Never mind. Drop that. Okay. All right. I'd like to see somebody's teaching on that, on these three horns. Okay. But I kind of am leaning more towards it being Roman, the first Reich, German Empire, the second Reich, Russia, the third Reich, and the fourth Reich being this new world system, right? That's how I view it. I could be wrong, but that's how I view it. Okay. All right. If somebody got something different, got something better, please feel free to add a comment and share me a link if you got a link. Code the link. Don't put it in there because it might get kicked out. You know how you do www. You can just write www and then dot whatever, right? And I'll look at it because I'm curious to hear what anybody else has to say about that. All right, now, but for now, I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to say first Reich, Rome, second Reich, German, third Reich, Russian, fourth Reich, the New World System, right? Okay, now, the superpowers of the world. Okay, so I considered the horns, right? And behold, there came up among them a little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. So I believe it's futuristically at this particular point in junction. He's talking futuristically, right? And behold, in this horn were eyes like eyes of men, which represents those leaders, right? Okay. And a mouth speaking great things, right? Okay. Now, So you have you can also even throw Napoleon in the rotation. You can have Napoleon. You can have Adolf Hitler in the mix. You can have Putin currently in the mix. You can have your figurehead the world ruler in the mix. Okay, all right. So we do know that these are Gentiles, right? He's talking about in his prophecy. All right. Now, and the kicker is here. It says the little horn before there were three. So the little horn will be ruling when the Messiah returns. So Daniel 7:9 says clear. It says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was like fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. Okay. So the fire stream issued that came forth from before him, thousands and thousands ministered to him, and 10,000s, 10 times 10,000 stood before him, and judgment was set, and the books were open. So we know that that's at the end. So all of what we're seeing here in his day had not been fulfilled, but in our day, we're looking at this little horn, right? Which is the man of sin, right? Okay. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Okay. Prayerfully, y'all still with me. Okay. So now I went over and I covered the prophecies, and I kind of alluded to Psalms 83. We just went over Daniel 7, right? I'm kind of looking at my notes at a glance. Okay, now we went through the 10 toes. We broke down each one. So now what I want to do is, let's see, I got a link here. Let's do this real quick. Let's go to this link here. Okay, let's copy this link and go with me to this link. All right, there we go. Oh, Coach Sherry had the duty call. All right, now let's see where we at. Okay, so go to that link there, and we're gonna read this together. Okay. This is Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, for those of you that are interested, I got everything digitized. I didn't download it. So if they ever decide they want to shut down archive.org or shut down our links, I done got these books downloaded. So it's too late. It's too late, right? It's too late in the game.
Give me a little something, boy.
All right, it's too late. Now, it is too late. I got them downloaded, right? All right, now.
Freeze, you diseased rhinoceros pizzle.
All right, okay. So this link here, transatlantic slave trade, right? We're going to read this. All right. The transatlantic slave trade, slavery. This is Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, I'm not sure if they actually have this in the hard copy, but I know this is the online version. So it's probably more real time. So the actual hard copy don't say that, but a lot of archive stuff is there in the original hard copy, right? All right. I'll give you a link to the Encyclopedia Britannica. You can download it on your computer or on your iPhone or tablet. All right, now. So remind me, ask me at the end, say, brother, you said you're going to give me the link to that. Okay. If I forget, remind me to leave the link. All right, now. So transatlantic slave trade, right? This is written by Thomas Lewis. This is fact-checked by editors of Encyclopedia Britannica, updated on March 3rd, 2025, article history, okay? What is transatlantic slave trade? What time period did transatlantic slave trade occur in? Which continents continents were involved in the transatlantic slave trade. Let's see, got a couple drop-down arrows here. Let's see what's here. Oh, they got an answer here. The transatlantic slave trade was a segment of the global slave trade that transported between 10 million to 12 million enslaved Africans across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas from the 16th to the 19th century. It was part of the triangular trade involving the exchange of goods and enslaved people between Europe, Africa, and America's enslaved people, right? Why don't they detail who these enslaved people are? This is enslaved people between Europe, Africa, and Americas. The trade was notorious for its brutality, particularly the Middle Passes, where enslaved Africans endured overcrowded and unsanitary conditions on ships. The trade had devastation effects on African societies, contributing to the depopulation of economic disruptions. It was eventually abolished in the 19th century. Now, what I want to add is this here, right here, brothers. They know who we were. Let's do this here. Let's go to Library of Congress. Okay. All right, let's go to the Library of Congress real quick. Let's see, hold on a second. I need to go visit the sites. That's what I want. Okay, here we go. So here's the site here. For those of you that have never gone here before, you need to bookmark this link. Okay, now what I want to go in here and I want to paste this link so you all can have access to this link here. Paste, bam. Okay. All right. So here, go to that link there. And this is the Library of Congress. So just for those that have never seen it, so you all are familiar with this, you already know. Okay, now I'm just doing this for those that never seen it before because they said they don't know people, enslaved people. But this is the map, interactive map of the. Let's see if I can move out of the way. I'm going the wrong way. This is an interactive map of, it says here, Negro land, right? I shared this with my nephew. He's a school teacher, right? So look, it says Negro land right here, right? Negro land, okay? And in the Negro land, you have, right? Look right here. The kingdom of Judah, or Ouida slave coast. Ouida, Judah, right? So this is the slave coast, right? And this is where they took the people, these 10 toes. They came into Africa where we were all settled. Esau, Edom, Amon, Moab, Ishmael, all in this land, right? So we were a blessed people. Even in the captive lands, we formulated what's called the kingdoms of Negro lands. So now when they say in Deuteronomy 28, you and your king will go into captivity, my urban Christian apologists, here it is, right here.
That boy is good.
So the government of the United States of America, right, have published it on the Library of Congress map. So don't tell me that you didn't know where they came from. Now let's go back to the article. Okay. All right.
What you bringing to the table, brother?
All right. So let's go back to the article. Let's close this up. Now, what time period did the transatlantic slave trade occur? Let's hit the drop down arrow there. The transatlantic slave trade occurred from the 16th to the 19th century. It was a segment of the global slave trade that transported 10. So that's kind of redundant. The trade began in the 15th century. Okay, this part I want right here. The trade began in the late 15th century with Portuguese ships transporting Africans, and let's correct this now, transporting Judeans, and expanded significantly in the 17th and 18th centuries, driven by the demands of labor of plantations in the Americas. Right. So that was the second question, right? Which continents were involved in the slave trade? Okay. Which continents were involved in the slave trade? It seemed like I moved. I'm off. Everything seems to be off here. I'm off the camera. Okay, all right. I don't know what happened there. Something happened. There was a shift. All right, where was I here? Okay. What continents were involved in the slave trade? The transatlantic slave trade involved 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and Americas. Enslaved Africa were forcibly taken from Africa. Okay, all right. So that's redundant. Let's go into the article here. Okay, all right. I don't know why they have that there. Transatlantic slave trade segment of the global slave trade was that transported between 10 and 12 million enslaved Africans across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas from the 16th to the 19th century. It was the second of 3 stages of the so-called triangular trade. Interesting. It was the second of 3 stages of the so-called triangular trade. So it's the second of 3 stages, right? Let's click this right here real quick. The triangular trade, 3-leg economic model and trade route that was predicted on the transatlantic trade of enslaved people. It flourished from roughly the 16th century to the mid-19th century during the era of Western colonialism. There you go. Boom. The 3 marks among which the trade was conducted were Europe, Western Africa, and the New World. Europe, Western Africa, and the New World. The first leg of triangular trade began in Europe, from which manufactured goods such as metals, brass, dishes, knives, tools, textiles, firearms, ammunition, and alcoholic beverages were transported by ship to ports on the coast of Western Africa. These goods were exchanged for enslaved people, many of whom had been abducted in the so-called Slave Coast, a section of the coast of the Gulf of Guinea. Now, that's prophecy, right? So I got to show you now. He made an excellent point. So let's go to Joel 3 real quick. Joel 3, we're connecting. We're done. This is called History Infusion. All right, Joel 3. All right, Joel 3. All right, Joel chapter 3. We're connecting these dots using prophetic and historic fusion. All right, now it says that, where am I? I want to go to where it says here, what have you to do with me? Let's see, because you have, let me see. Here we go right here. Yes. What have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly, as speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold and carried them to your temples, my goodly and pleasant things. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold to who? The Grecians, not the Edomites, boom. That you may remove them far from their borders. Behold, I will raise them up out of the places where you have sold them, and I will return the recompense upon your own head, right? And I will sell your sons. Now, I want to go over verse 3. It says, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Boom. So there goes your exchanges right there. So we're seeing now, if you go to, we read in Ezekiel last week, I think it was, we talked about how that they sold merchants, right? And then it said they sold the souls of men, which connects with Revelation, talks about the souls of men. So here we see all of this is infusing with the prophecies, right? That talks about that these people would sell, they would buy, and they would sell a bottle of wine, right? As say here, look at it again. It says that sold the girl for wine that they might drink, right? So that's what the article is alluding to, and it's in sync with prophecy, right? So let's go back to the article. All right, now, so he said alcoholic beverages, right? First leg of triangular trade began with Europe when they manufactured goods and metals, brass, dishes, knives, tools, textiles, firearms, ammunition, and alcoholic beverages were transported by ship to ports on the coast of Western. There, these goods were exchanged for enslaved people, many of whom had been abducted in the so-called slave coast. Boom. So who abducted them, brothers and sisters? Okay, let me read it again, so somebody missed it. All right, so he said that they were inducted, right? These were in exchange for enslaved people, many of whom had been abducted in the so-called slave coast, a section of the coast of the Gulf of Guinea, right? So, what does it mean to be abducted? Right? I'm glad you asked the question. Let's do it. All right. Everybody knows what it means, but I like amplifying stuff. What does it mean to be abducted? Right. There we go. All right. Let's bring it up. Right.
Wait a minute.
All right. Abducted means to be taken away illegally, used by force, and often used interchangeably with the term kidnap. Boom. Right. So it was, according to, let's go to Psalms 83 now. We're going to show you the whole rigmarole, right? So we're fusing these together. So go to Psalms 83, right? All right, go to Psalms 83. Let me blow this up here. All right, we're fusing them together. Psalms 83, right? Boom, there it is. Okay, now, verse 4. Since they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom were in Africa. Ishmaelites were in Africa. Moab were in Africa. Hagarenes were in Africa. And some of the Israelites were still in Saudi Arabia, right? Because they had to operate there because a lot of Israelites was there, right? Now, Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, right? The Philistines. And the inhabitants of Tyre, right? So all of those people, right? Boom. They all got together and they did what? They abducted the Hebrews. That's how the Europeans got into Africa and took us and enslaved, because it was the cousins in Psalms 83 that abducted us through war and handed us over into the hands of the fourth beast, the 10 toes. Man. There it is. But y'all need to blow the dust off that Bible. Stop making a religious book. It's a historical book, a book about a people, right? But you want to be emotionalized. You want to have snot going down. Wait a minute. This is what you want right here.
It helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes. It helped Daniel get out the lion's den. It helped Gilligan get off the island. Lord.
That's what y'all want. Y'all don't want no truth. You don't want to open that book up and find yourself in that book and find what the prophets is talking about. This whole thing is about you, but you've been told it's about religion, about you being saved and going to heaven when you die. Silly rabbit.
That boy is good.
Yeah. So let's go back to the article. I'm getting worked up. YouTube trying to take me off. I got another copyright strike community guidelines. So look, for now on, if they take me off, then y'all, I'm gonna have to build my website, and you're gonna have to come to my website, right? Because see, they don't want truth getting out. That they attempted to try to shut your channel down because you're putting too much knowledge and truth out, right? So that's why I got to get this books done right now. So now, So that's what it means to be abducted, right? Let's go back to the article. All right. Okay. So we see the triangular slave trade was them exchanging and abducting Israelites, right, from the coast of Yehuda, right? And these goods were exchanged for enslaved people. Many of them had been abducted from the so-called slave coast, a section of the coast of Gulf of Guinea, right, extended approximately from the Volta River and to the west to Lagos to modern Nigeria, or alternatively, the Niger Delta in the east and present day republics of Togo, Benin, and Nigeria. Many more enslaved people were taken from the West Central Africa, centered on the Portuguese colony is what is now known as Angola. Boom. So how did they get down there? They kicked them out of Spain and Portugal and put them on the coast of St. Thomas. We read about that in previous lessons, right? All right. So now we see here, they're acknowledging the facts, right? Look at what it says. They said that many more enslaved people were taken from West Central Africa, centered on the Portuguese colony in what is now Angola. A smaller number came from Portuguese controlled ports of southeastern Africa. The second stage of this triangular trade was a shipment of enslaved people westward across the Atlantic Ocean, usually to Brazil and the West Indies. There goes your Caribbeans, there goes your Jamaicans, there goes your Cubans, there goes your Bohemians and etc., Caicos and Turks and Haiti, and the list goes on and on. Puerto Rico, did I say? Costa Rica, right? The journey, known as the Middle Passage, took roughly 21 to 90 days. The ships were grossly overcrowded, with captives wedged below decks and chained to platforms stacked in tiers, right? Oh, I got one for that. Ships, wait a minute, hold on. Read that again. The second stage of this triangular trade was the shipment of enslaved people westward across the Atlantic Ocean, usually to Brazil, West Indies. This journey was known as the Middle Passage, took roughly 21 to 90 days. The ships were grossly overcrowded, right? Now, boom. So where do we say in the book about ships, right? Deuteronomy 28 1. It's not the only one, right? Let's see. Let me give you another place here, right? We're fusing these together, right? Okay. How about Numbers? Numbers 21, 21, or is it 21, 24? Okay. Shall come from Chittim, 21, 24. Let's see, that's not 21, 24. Hold on a second. 24, 24. Okay. 24, 24 says, it says, the ships shall come from the coast of Chittim and shall afflict Asher and Eber, and he also shall perish forever, right? That's Numbers 24, 24. Isaiah 23, 1 says what? A burden of Tyre, how you ships of Tarshish, for the land wastes, so that there is no house, no entering in from the land of Chittim. It is revealed to them, right? Now, how about Daniel? Daniel 11:30 says what? At the time appointed, he shall return and come towards the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter, for the ships of Chittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the Kodesh covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the Kodesh covenant. Boom. Right? Now, I got more. There's more. Right? Let's see. Hold on a second. Okay, this is Lamentations, right? Lamentations 4:20, right? Lamentations 4:20, right? All right. It said Lamentations 4:20 says, the breath of our nostrils, the anointed of Yah, was taken in their pits. Boom. Right? Whom we said under his shadow, we shall live among the heathen. Right? So the anointed of Yah was taken in their pits. Right? Okay. There's one more I want to pull out, and then we're going to go back to the article. Okay, it'll come back to me. I can't. It's one where it talks about the nostrils. Wait, hold on. It just came to me. I just read that. Okay, that's the one I just read. That was the one I just thought. Okay, all right, I just read that one. Okay. The breath of the nostrils, the anointed of Yah, was taken in their pits, of whom we sat under the shadow, we shall live amongst the heathens, right? That was it, right? Okay. All right. Let's go back to the article. Okay. So there we see that there's ships right now. The peak of the Atlantic trade of enslaved people seemed to have been reached in the 1780s, and when on average in some 78,000 enslaved people were brought to the Americas each year. 78,000 brought each year, right? Luke 21:24, another one, 21:24. They should be led captive to all nations, and Jerusalem will be trodden down by the Gentiles. That's another one, right? Okay. Now, after arriving in Brazil or the Caribbean, the enslaved Africans were sold at auctions and were taken throughout the New World. Many were put on work on plantations. The shipment of Europe of plantation crops and products made from them was the third leg of the triangular trade. Let me back that up again, right? The shipment to Europe of plantation crops and products made from them was a third leg of the triangular trade, right? Look, Deuteronomy 28 talks about that, right? You're going to build, right? You're going to not eat the grapes of your labor. I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but go back and look at Deuteronomy 28, right? All these prophecies are sinking right now. So the shipment of Europe plantation crops products made from them was the third leg of the triangular trade. Amongst the most valuable exports to Europe were sugar, rice, indigo, tobacco, cotton, molasses, and rum, right? The third leg of the triangle also involved the distinct role of Britain's North American colonies. How about that? Let's click that link real quick in a second. Which sent raw materials to Europe. Read that again. Wait a minute. These Gentiles is telling the truth, and that's why they wanted to hide these books. They want to take the internet down because they put them on archives. Oh man, I declare war. Okay. The third leg of the triangle also involved a district role for Britain's North American colonies, which sent raw materials to Europe where they supplied manufacturing industries. In return, Europe sent manufactured goods and luxury items to the colonies, which themselves exported items such as rum, gunpowder, iron, tools, and cloth to Africa. The colonies also sent fish, meat, flour, and lumber to the Caribbean islands in exchange for sugar and molasses, right? Boom. What was that verse that said? That's 28. Okay. That's 28. Deuteronomy 28. And it says, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her, and thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Boom! So we were exploited by the 10 toes, right? All right, I got a whole lot more. I'm a finish it in here, but I got to show it to you. Okay, now let's go back into the article. All right. Okay. Let's see, Western colonialism. Was that the link? Let's see, British North American colonies. Let's see. What I want to do is, let's click this real quick. Then I'll go back. I'm gonna have to click back because I want to go down here where it says Western colonialism. All right. Great Britain says, Great Britain, island lying on the east of the island of Ireland and of northwestern coast. Okay, all right, skip all that there. This is interesting stuff here. I never read it before. The origins of United Kingdom can be traced to the time of the Anglo-Saxon king Athelstan. That's good stuff there, right there, right? Look at that. Read it again. The origins of the United Kingdom can be traced to the time of the Anglo-Saxon king Athelstan, who in the early 10th century secured an alliance of the neighboring Celtic kingdoms that became the first to rule what previously many kings shared between them. That's interesting, right? That's some good stuff there, history of UK. But why did they have a reference? What relevancy is this to what we were just reading? I'm not making the connection why they had a link there. I guess it's to take you further. Let's go back where I was. Okay, all right. Scratch that there. So now, let's read this part here. Western colonialism, a political economic phenomenon whereby various European nations explored, conquered, settled, and exploited large areas of the world. The age of modern colonialism began with 1500 following the European discoveries of the sea route around Africa's southern coast. So now, you know what? You got to get this book called They Came Before Columbus, because they didn't discover the trade routes. They was taught the trade routes. Right? The age of the modern colonial began in 1500 between European discoveries of the sea route around Africa's southern coast, 1488, and to America, 1492. With these events, sea power shift from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic and to the emerging nation states of Portugal, Spain, Dutch Republic, France, and England. By discovery, conquest, and settlement, these nations expanded and colonized through the world, spreading European institutions and culture, right? Okay, so this is good stuff here, but this is not relevant to my. It's relevant, but yet it's not crucial. Okay, this is good right here. The first European empire, 16th century Portugal's seaborne empire. Following Christopher Columbus' first voyage, the rulers of Portugal and Spain, by Treaty of Tordesillas, 1494, partitioned the non-Christian world between them by an imaginary line in the Atlantic, 370 leagues. Imaginary line, how about that? About 1,300 miles west of the Cape Verde Islands. Portugal could claim and occupy everything to the east of the line, and Spain everything to the west, though no one then knew the demarcation would bisect the other side of the globe. Portuguese rule in India. There you go. So Portuguese had rule in India, East Indies, Brazil, rest on this treaty, as well as Portuguese discoveries and on papal sanctions by Pope Leo X by a bull. That right there is a whole lesson in itself. The papal bull 1514 forbade others to interfere with Portugal's possessions except for such minor incursions as those of Ferdinand Magellan's surviving ship in 1522 and the Englishman Sir Francis Drake's voyage around the world in 1577. So 1577 to 80. The Portuguese operated in the East for nearly a century without European competition. Let me see that again, right? The Portuguese operated in the East for nearly a century without European competition. They faced occasional Oriental enemies, but weathered these dangers with their superior ships, gunnery, and seamanship, right? So, man, so Portuguese were the first ones, right? They were the first ones of the 10 toes that oppressed the children of Israel, right? Okay, they got a foothold in the land by the assistance of the Moors, primarily, and Phoenicians, or the Edomites, because Phoenicians, Phoenicians? Yeah, Phoenicians were the Edomites. Okay, now, that's a lot. That's a mouthful. Okay, I know it's a lot of stuff. This stuff, that's why you're gonna have to get my book, because in this live stream, I can't do justice, boy. This is a whole lot. All right, now. So I want to go, let's see, back to where I started out with the original article. If I can get back there. Okay. Because that took us somewhere. Ooh, that took us way down the road. I ain't ready to go there. All right, let's see. Let's close this one down. Okay. All right. What I want to do is, okay, I don't want to go to the rest of this article because it's going to add time to but there's a lot of good stuff in here. You can go down to the middle passage. You see the ships. Joseph Sink, portrait of Joseph Sink, late leader of the revolt. He revolted against the Portuguese enslavers, Portuguese, Spanish enslavers, right? Or was it French? Okay. All right. So many, right? Okay, now, so that's you have that link there. You can go ahead and look at that link. This is Encyclopedia Britannica article. All right, now I'm gonna close that one down because I'm not gonna stay there because I'll be all day long. Okay, let's close this link down here. Okay, now where do I want to go now? Okay, what I want to do is, okay, let me see. Let's kind of summarize, okay, what I have here instead of going to all these links. Okay, the first Europeans to enslave the Hebrews in Africa in the timeline was the Portuguese, right? In 1441 through 1444, lasted for 130 years. He's 130 years here. He said 100 years, but then it says 130 years here. African tribes fought back against the Portuguese, and various tribes sold the Hebrews to the Europeans and the transatlantic slave trade. So what's this link here? Let me see what it says. Transatlantic. Is that the one I opened up? Let me see real quick. Okay. Did we read this one? No, we didn't read this one. I want to read this part where it talks about they fought back. Let me see. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Hold on. I gotta get the exact quote. That's why I like going over my notes, because I can see various tribes. So let me see. Okay, the keyword is sold. Okay, let me see. Keyword is sold. Okay, sold. Let me see. Let's go to sold. Okay, this part right here. I think that's at the top. Okay. The transatlantic slave trade was the largest long-distance forced movement of people in recorded history. From the 16th to the late 19th centuries, over 12 million, some estimate run as high as 15 million, American men, women, and children were enslaved, transported to Americas, and bought and sold primarily by Europeans and Euro-American slaveholders as chattel property for use of the labor in their skills. But I wanted to read this part where it talked about let's see what this says here. For example, 1444 Portuguese marauders arrived in Senegal ready to assault and capture Africans using armor. Okay, here we go. Portuguese marauders arrived in Senegal ready to assault and capture Africans using armored swords and deep sea vessels. Now watch this now. But the Portuguese discovered that the Senegalese outmaneuvered their ships using light, shallow water vessels better suited for the estuaries of the Senegalese coast. In addition, the Senegalese fought with poison arrows that slipped through their armor and decimated the Portuguese soldiers. Subsequently, Portuguese traders generally abandoned direct combat and established commercial relations with the West and Central African leaders. Let me say that again. These Portuguese tried to fight. That's why we know they had to have somebody to help them to sell us. And these were our cousins. That's why Psalms 83 makes a whole lot of sense. That's why you can't make Esau be the white man, because the white man couldn't come into the black land and take people without the help of the people that was in the land. Can you see that? Now, so these Portuguese, and the first ones to enter into Africa, could not come and take people out on their own. They had to get help. They tried to fight them. They outsmarted them. Let's go back. Look. The Portuguese marauders arrived in Senegal ready to assault and capture Africans using armored swords and deep sea vessels. But the Portuguese discovered that the Senegalese outmaneuvered their ships using light, shallow water vessels better suited for estuaries of the Senegalese coast. In addition, I actually had a photo or video of one showing that, which was it was on point. Okay. It says that in addition, the Senegalese fought with poisonous arrows that slipped through their armor and decimated the Portuguese soldiers. Subsequently, Portuguese traders generally abandoned direct combat and established commercial relations with West and Central African leaders who agreed to sell slaves taken from various African wars or domestic trading, as well as gold and other commodities in exchange for European and North African goods. Boom. So you see that? So you see what it said? Let me slide this over here. So I'm reading another. Okay. I don't know how I got off the camera here. Let's see if I can fix that right quick. All right. Okay. Might be too far. Okay, let's try that there. That should be better. Okay, there we go. Now I'm too far away, but that's okay. That's all right. All right. So yeah, so we see that they fought back. So my point in presenting that is that Esau, Amon, Moab, they all handed us over into the hands of the Europeans, brothers and sisters. It wasn't the Caucasians handed, it wasn't Esau, a Caucasian handed it over into the hands of another Caucasian people. That don't fly. Historically, prophetically, it don't fly, right? Now, let's go back to, I got to show you something. Okay. So I don't know if I gave you that link. I'm gonna give you this link here so you can read this. This is from the LDHI, right? I don't know what the LDHI stands for. I have to go and see. But the LDHI, let me see. What does it say here? Okay, Low Country Digital History Initiative. That's what it is. Okay, all right. Okay, very good. Now, let me give you that link, and then we're going to continue a little further, all right? Right, that's right. They didn't. Esau, if Esau is white, and when did he hand us over to the hands of the enslavers? So the history doesn't fly. You like that Gilligan off the island? As I get time, my brother, you know, so I mean, right now, I'm piecing it together. I'm not actually editing it because of my time schedule, but I'm actually get a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. I should have some time to actually complete it. By the end of the summer, I should be caught up with some of these debts I have, so I can have free time. Because right now I'm working like a Hebrew slave around the clock. So that's where I stand right now. So that's the reason why it's being prolonged, because I don't have the dedicated time to actually. Because Shabbat comes around and I'm here, and then I go back to work on first day, and I work until the next Shabbat. Okay. All right. So that's where we stand. All right. Now, where was I going here? I want to show you. I'm going to give you another link. Okay. So let's see. Portuguese. Let me just follow my flow here. So Portuguese 1441 lasted 130 years. The African tribes fought back against the Portuguese. I gave you that link there. Europeans and the transatlantic slave trade. I think that's the same link. Okay, the Gentiles, Spanish conquistadors in 1502. They are Christians who enslaved the Hebrews, right? Conquistadors were Spanish and Portuguese soldiers and explorers and adventurers primarily from 15th to the 17th centuries who conquered vast territories of Americas and beyond, driven by a desire for land, wealth, and to spread Christianity. Now, that, I think, is in this link here. Let me see if is that it? Let me see. Let's see. Hold on a second. Okay, no, that's not the one. I don't know, right? This quote here was from a book. I'm not sure which one I got that from, because I thought I had the link in there. I don't think it was that one. But let me read it again. The quote says, the conquistadors in 1502, they are Christians who enslaved Hebrews. It didn't say Hebrews, it said they enslaved Africans. The conquistadors were Spanish and Portuguese soldiers, explorers, and adventurers, primarily from 15th to the 17th centuries, who conquered vast territories in the Americas and beyond, driven by a desire for land, wealth, and the spread of Christianity. Let me see if I can find that. Sometimes I can actually copy and paste, and then it actually show me the book where it came from. Okay, let me see. Let's try this and see if this works. Let's see. Hold on a second, brothers and sisters. I'm just about wrapping up here. Let me see. I have tons and tons more, but I got to come to I said when you audit, and I worked in finance. When you audit, they say come to a point where you can stop. That's what I'm about trying to do now. Okay, I want to find this book. Let's see. I got this quote from, so you can have that. Oh my, oh my, my oh me. Let's see. This is 19th century. Okay, no. Okay, I'm gonna have to find it. I can't find it like that. So let's go back into. All right, I want to give you another link. Let's go back to my notes here. Okay, so the Dutch in 1652. Here's another one here. Right. This is a little known history. Right. When you talk about South Africa, right, most people. You see, first you want to know, when did those people, those Afrikaners, get into South Africa? So watch this now. I'm gonna do this real quick, right? We're gonna do it together. Okay. When did the Afrikaners come to South Africa, or arrive in South Africa? Okay, it says the ancestors of Afrikaners, predominantly Dutch settlers, there goes your Dutch, first arrived at Cape of Good Hope, present-day Cape Town. In 1652, establishing the Dutch East India Company, settled to resupply ships on the route to the Dutch East Indies. Okay? So, here's your Afrikaners. Here's a picture of them right here. All right, let me show you this here. I got another. This is another. It's called Gentiles Invade South Africa. Okay, this says here. So this is chronology of events of South Africa, right? The 4th century, migrants from north settled, joining the indigenous San and Koki people. Did I say it right? Kokoi, or is it Khoikhoi? Khoikhoi. So look what it says. It says migrants from the north settled, joining the indigenous San and Khoikhoi people, right? So from the 4th century, right, that would be 300 AD. From the 4th century, 300. All the way up until the 1480s, you don't have one sight of an European in Africa. Boom. So, do the math. 300 minus the 1480s, right? Let me see if I can bring up a calculator real quick. Okay. So from, let's just say 300 minus 1480 equals, that's 1180 years, right? So I was right. My math was right. So that's 1100 years from the Hebrews who came from the north that were already there, which my Christian politics try to say that we wasn't in the North Africa. What was it that happened in the 4th century that caused our people to go south? You know what it was? It was the birth of Christianity and Constantine, the Emperor of Rome. 325, right? We wasn't having it. So we got far away from them as we could. We went down below the Saharan desert and reestablished the Negro land kingdoms right there in Africa. So this history is sinking. So you ask, what period were we kings in Africa? And what kings did we have? We had a whole bunch of them. You go and you can read in Leo Africanus' book. I'll give you the link if you're new to this channel. You never saw this channel before. I'll do it for you. I'll give you the link. I'll do your homework for you. Right? Archives.org. Okay. It's called History and Description of Africa, right? It's I think it's 3 volumes. Okay. So take this link and shove it. Share it. That was not of y'all. I said take the link and shove it. Oh my, I'm tired, y'all. Y'all gotta pray for brother. I'm tired. I need some sleep. Okay, all right. Okay, he said, funny thing about our education is they claim we were uncivilized and everything, but yeah, right, but it's right there. Now, so we were uncivilized from the 4th century to the time that the Portuguese came into the land and discovered, they studied us for 1,100 years to figure out how they can, right around that time, right? Now, so go back in here. Where was I at here? So from the 4th century, migrants from north settled and joined the indigenous San Khoikhoi people. In the 1480s, Portuguese navigator Bartholomew Dias is the first European to travel around the southern tip of Africa. So all that time, 1497, Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama lands on natal coast. Then the Dutch comes in the 1600s, in the 17th century. 1652, Jan van Riebeek, representing the Dutch East India, founds the Cape Colony of Table Bay. How about that? I wonder what they did with the people that was there when they founded a land where people was inhabiting there. For at this time, this was another 200 years later, almost. So you're talking about, what I say, 1200, about 1500 years later, here come the Dutch. And establishing and setting up, right, land in Africa. And saying that they're the original people of Africa. Can you see the deception that Japheth has? It's like he is true to his name. His name says that he would delude, that he was a deceiver, right? We used to have a saying when I was in Chicago. I believe he was about as far as I can throw you. I don't know, was that Chicago, was that Philly that we used to say that? It was one of the two. All right, now. So you have, going back in here, so you have, now I'm just summarizing all this, but I'm not going to go over here so you can see where I'm going here. So now you got, so we got the Dutch in 1652, right? Moves into South Africa. Then in 1795, the British forces seize Cape Colony from the Netherlands. Territory is returned to Dutch in 1803, ceded. So you go, they both going down there fighting. The 1800, you got Shaka Zulu founds and expands the Zulu Empire, creates a formidable fight force, right? Then you have 1800, brothers commented in the comments, the Boers leave Cape Colony in the Great Trek and found the Orange Free State of Transvaal. British grant limited government to the Transvaal. So they down there taking over, right? And then you go all the way up into the time of where the Holocaust, right? That was, let's see, where's the history there? in the 1900s. Let's see, early 1900s, I want to say. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so right around this time here. I don't see where they have it outlined out. But I will show you this here. Okay, let me see. I think I have it. So, the genocide, here we go, right here. Okay. Let's give me a break from talking. Let's watch this clip real quick, okay?
Amen.
Oh, wait, hold on.
In 1904, concentration camps were a military innovation that had only been used twice before. But in Namibia, the concept was applied in a completely new way.
Concentration camps in the British model in South Africa or the original Spanish model in Cuba were essentially designed to separate freedom fighters from the people who supported them. In German Southwest Africa, something very different was going on. There were no more free Herero people. They were all, or almost all, in camps.
In the early months of 1905, the Herero was shuttled around the country in cattle trucks. Thousands of them arrived here in Swakopmund. This town, trapped between the great dunes of the Namib Desert and the icy cold waters of the South Atlantic, was the colony's main port. A concentration camp was built here because Swakopmund was a center of German industry and commerce, a place where the slave labor of the prisoners could be best put to use. No one today knows exactly where Swakopmund's 2 concentration camps were located. Yet what happened in those camps was meticulously recorded, documented, and photographed by the Germans themselves. 3,000 Herero were imprisoned in Swakopmund. The majority were women and children. They were made to unload the ships that landed in port and to work on new building projects. Beatings were common, but the conditions in the camps alone proved fatal for many Herero prisoners.
Many members of my own family died in the concentration camps at Swakopmund.
You hear that?
Because in Swakopmund the weather is extremely cold. And they were not used to that cold weather. They were given only maybe 1 blanket or so. Many of them died. The food was limited, scarce.
The whole system was run with bureaucratic efficiency.
What happened is when the Herero were captured, they were assigned a number. And this number was noted down in a book. And these numbers could then be shifted around to whoever needed labor. And the German military was paid for this labor.
The Germans had thousands of numbered metal tags made specially and shipped out to the colony.
This one is apparently unique in that the number was scratched and another number was put on, because it seems like sometimes they reuse it. Looking at this pass and thinking that my aunt has to wear this thing like a dog around her neck, even my grandmother for that matter, and every Herero person for that matter, it's, I don't know, I don't think there are words to express the pain. I don't have words. It's painful.
The concentration camps were vast reservoirs of slave labor. As the colony's economy began to boom, the army began to rent Herero slaves to private business at a cost of 10 marks a month. But incredibly, some companies were so big that they were permitted to run their own concentration camps.
In Swakopmund and in other cities as well, you would have the camp of the German military, and then you would have camps which were run by private enterprise. One of these camps was the Vermin Company, which is one of the shipping companies. They had their own camp in which they kept people, in which they would use these people for labor.
This shopping mall stands on what is believed to be the site of a concentration camp once owned and administered by the Vermin shipping line.
Okay, so I'm going to end that right there. All right, so you can watch that. I'll give you the link to this video here. You can watch that. But there's a lot of, here's another video here just popped up here. German colonialism in Africa. Right. What I gotta show you this here, right? Speaking of maps, right? Okay. I got tons and tons and tons of links. Let me let you see my notes here. Got tons and tons of links here. That goes your Herero genocide, Holocaust. This is a link here. Let me see. That's what we just saw. This talks about the genocide, the Holocaust. Okay. In South Africa. So they want to make it look like they're innocent. You know, slavery was a long time ago, but the policies that are being used are still imposing servitude on our people on a global scale, right? Let's see, hold on a second. What I want to do is I want to share with you a link, and I'm going to kind of wrap this up here. PBS Netherlands expected to apologize. There's a good article here. I ain't had time to go over this. This one here is something that you might want to read. A co-share said, how did the black Indians become slaves? They were destroyed by what? Yep, that's correct. Because you have two types of Indians, right? You have the Japhetic, and then you have those of us who were that immigrated into India, who were actually, in fact, Hebrews that immigrated into India, fleeing from persecution, right? So that's the difference between the two. Okay, we kind of covered a little bit of that in a previous lesson too. Let me see. So that link there that I just gave you is to, let me see, I got, where did it go? I messed up, or did I get that from here? No, I got it from here. Okay, okay, it was this one here, PBS Netherlands, and the reason why I'm giving you all these links, because these Gentiles are telling the truth. The Netherlanders, this one here says the Netherlanders expected to apologize for his role in slavery in the Caribbean. So the Dutch had their hand. They was down into South Africa enslaving people there, shipped them over here, etc. Right? I'm looking for this one link. I guess I have so much. I think this is the one I wanted. The European nations had hand in the slave trade. Portugal. So here are your people, right? Portugal, Spain, Britain, France, Netherlands, Dutch, Denmark, and Sweden, right? I think this is the link. Oh yeah, this is the one here. You need this one here. And this, I'm gonna close with this one here. I'm gonna give you this link, and we're gonna look at it for a little bit. Then we're gonna wrap the session up here. It's 12 o'clock. Okay. Click this link right here. And please pardon me, because normally I would have incorporated a lot of this stuff if I had time to go over my notes, but I didn't have time to go over my notes. So, Gentiles, like, well, this one here. Okay, here we go. So look at this. Look at this right here, right? Okay. This is Britannica Kids website. How about that? Look at the map. Light to the Gentiles probably going now. I don't know if he's still around. But here you can see. This shows you colonization of Africa by Europeans. British is in pink, French is in whatever color it is, beige. Portuguese is in purple, Spanish is in orange, and Italian is in green. Right? So then you got British. Who's missing? We got Belgium down here. We got German. Right? Okay. So look at the map. You'll see. This is the colonization of. So these territories is French. Right? See the French in the brown? Then British is this color here. So you see British East Africa. They was all down up in, look at that. Starting the 1800s in what became known as the scramble for Africa, European countries raced to occupy the continent seeking economic strategy gains. The British control over many parts of Africa, including Sudan and much of the south. France began to rule a large territory in the west of the north. Germany, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, and Spain also rushed to gain territory. The map of Africa soon looked like a huge jigsaw puzzle, with the land almost completely divided into separate territories controlled by European powers. See that? So this is a Britannica Kids, but this is actually good. It's like good for adults. You can look at the map and see the Europeans, how they colonize, okay? The blue is independent. So Ethiopia is independent, Egypt independent, says from 1914 to 1922. Green is Italian, so Italia's got Libya. That's why you got your light-skinned Libyans up there, because in 1912, that's when they got in there. Boom. They want you to believe they were there before, but no. They're new. They are new immigrants into the land, right? None of them was in the land for at least 1,200 years after the land was developed and established, right? So I had a lot more. I have a lot more in my note. I might have to do a part 2 on this, and I can get a chance. But I wanted to show y'all some stuff here. I kind of breezed through this here. The Goths, the Vandals, the Lombards, the Franks. All these were the Germanic tribes that established these kingdoms that came into Africa. Was called the scramble for Africa, right? The scramble for Africa. Now, if you go on Wikipedia and type in scramble for Africa, this comes up, right? And so they have their map. They're showing you their map, colorized. So you got Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Britain or UK, right? In the pink, they got the goodly land, right? And then you got independent, which is the one little solo Ethiopia. And over here, what is that? What is that there? I don't know what that is. This one here. I had to look at the African map. So brothers and sisters, appreciate your time. Appreciate you sharing time with us. Got up to a fast start, and as I ran out of steam, because I'm gonna go get me a nap after this. I'm gonna lay down. Got about 3 hours of sleep. So I love y'all with the love of Yah, and appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming in. I pray that the love of Yah be in your home. I pray that you have the spirit of joy in this new year as we prepare to go into our feast of Yah. So with that said, brothers and sisters, love you with the love of Yah, and we'll see you again at the appointed time. Until the next time, shalom, shalom, shalom. And I gotta fix my thing here because I made a boo-boo.